Hello everybody, it's time for Anime Talk. Now I realize I usually don't do Anime Talks on Saturdays, since Anime Talks are sort of a random review thing, or just Anime Talk thing that I do randomly. And while I should be making my Doctor Who review right now, or maybe an hour from now, since Doctor Who is currently on, unfortunately I've been finishing up an anime series that I've been really into, so I missed it. But I will download and watch the Doctor Who episode tomorrow. So I'll have my full Doctor Who review up by tomorrow, so that, well, I can be caught up and everything will be good. But today, I'm here to talk about, or essentially review, an anime series I just started watching this last summer, and is just finished. That series is Charlotte. And this series is basically about a bunch of kids that have special abilities that are essentially placed within them through a sickness, and basically they're given this ability from middle school until they're adults, and then the abilities leave them eventually. And honestly, I'll admit that it's actually a pretty interesting concept. And I'll also state that originally I didn't like this series at all. Funny enough, though, I first watched this series 2 weeks ago, because my friend forced me to. It was on my anime watch list for the summer, but unfortunately I didn't get to it until right now. So now that now that I've just watched the last episode and it's fresh in my mind, I decided to make this review. So let's go. We follow our main character, whose name is Yu. I don't know what his last name is, and essentially we follow his potential growth from someone that uses his powers to abuse the way things work to get himself on top, to make himself look like a great person, even though he's really just using his powers selfishly. We also have his what's called well friend he meets in the first episode, named Now, who is essentially, his love interest slash mentor in certain senses. So basically, the series, at least the main point of most of the episodes of the series, revolve around basically Now joining a group of a student council in a different school that basically goes around searching for superpowered people that they can help, and basically give them the whole spiel that if they use their powers, it's very likely that scientists will most likely kidnap them and put experiments on them and basically just torture them for the rest of their miserable lives. Now knows this personally because her sister, her, yeah, her brother, sorry, her brother had that experience and is unable to use his abilities. Now, this series was actually really well done, to be perfectly honest. It takes, instead of using like that usual guy that just happens to get a special ability out of nowhere and tries to use it for good and then meets people with the same abilities, it follows that kind of story, except it changes it up by making the main character kind of an unlikable douche. And those are the way that they change things up. I mean, how many times can you have just that guy that always tries to do good and be good, so let's move on. So Yu's specific ability is basically his ability to take over um, the minds or the bodies of people for only a short 5 seconds. I believe it's only 5 seconds. There is a more powerful thing that it does, but I won't spoil that for you. Um, and we also have Yu's friend Now, who can turn invisible, except it's very imperfect in the fact that she's only able to turn invisible for for someone specific. So if she's, let's say she's fighting a whole group of people, she's only able to turn invisible for one of them, so she can still get the crap beat out of her by the entire group. There's also his two other friends. Unfortunately, I do not remember their names. I should have written down notes before I started this, but who cares? So there's one friend who says he has teleporting, but his power is less teleporting and more shooting himself off like a bullet. So it's a very imperfect technique, and pretty much every time he gets out, we see him again after he uses his power. He is very badly damaged or bleeding or just bandaged up. There's his other friend who is basically a famous idol that uses, well, her main power is I can't remember what it's called, but essentially she allows ghosts and spirits to possess her. But mostly it's used to allow her older sister to possess her, and her older sister also had a power, which is pyromancy. And I also has a sister whose power is as sorry, our main character sister, whose power is to basically cause complete cataclysm and destruction all around her if she's pushed into a corner of high probability that she's going to get hurt or she's massively scared. And that's pretty much it. Those are all the characters you need to focus on. I'm not going to say the other characters because they're, there's a lot of stuff, and if you haven't seen it, I don't want to ruin it for you. So, we move on. Well, it does essentially focus on them trying to find people with abilities to tell them the whole spiel that I just told you, and to help them. Partway through the series, we do end up meeting who is in charge, because the school that they move into is a school specifically made for people with powers. I mean, most of the students are normal, but like most of the students that go there usually do have special abilities. Like one character who essentially helps the kids find the person of the day so that they can tell them the spiel. And honestly, it's very interesting. It's a very good series. Although it ended after 13 episodes, and it seems highly unlikely that there will be a continuation unless they redo a plot or they make an alternate story or something of that nature. In any case, the series was actually fantastic, and if you watched the first episode and didn't like the characters like I did, go back and give it the classic 3-episode or 5-episode affair until you make your final judgment. Because I swear, and this is something that very rarely happens to me, I changed my mind about 3 episodes in, about how I felt about the series, about what I liked about the series, and I can honestly tell you a bunch of things that I loved about the series by episode 3. So if you watched it and didn't like it, try and give it another chance. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. Anyway, that's it for now. So look forward to my Doctor Who episode review tomorrow, Sunday morning, and I will see you all later.